I began to choreograph before I had actually done any technique. I'd gone to a school, a state school in England, where they were actually teaching what was known as movement and drama. And the teacher was very progressive, and she was actually teaching us how to workshop movement ideas. I became involved with New World School of the Arts through Daniel Lewis about 6 years ago. I had moved here with my wife to Miami to kind of relax and so forth, and within 2 weeks I got bored, and I had looked up that Danny was teaching here and was the dean. So I rang him up and I marched into the office and I said, "Listen, Danny, I don't know if you remember me, I was in London and you used to teach me during your time at the London School of Contemporary Dance." And he kind of looked at me and he looked me up and down and he said, "Oh yeah, I remember the little skinny Indian boy who used to come in my class and play drums sometimes." I said, "Yeah. Well, anyway," I said, "I became a professional dancer and I'm looking for some work." And he was generous enough to offer me some work. Well, one of the ideas that I've been given a chance to do here is actually develop my pieces. And it's, in a sense, like a lab for me. I know what kind of movements excite me with movement of the camera. And if there's a 360 to do, I know exactly what kind of movement that would work with it. So I sit down with a piece of paper and my camera and I kind of walk around the room and imagine stuff. I make up stuff. That's all I do. And then I joined it together. I sit down with my storyboard and I plant things down. But that's really to do with knowing how to make films and going to film school, and I think I learned quite a lot through there, which has actually helped me to develop my own choreography in my own style, I think. If you have a story or a narrative to tell, you should make sure the narrative is clear. And what I do is that I storyboard everything. And I knew what kind of, the way I wanted to tell that particular piece is in very short sections, quite comic strip. But in there's a little kind of emotional narrative that happens. In film there's quite a tradition of directors making appearances. And I think, tongue-in-cheek, I wanted to do a Hitchcock. In The Virgin Queen, he would be the priest or the cardinal marrying the two people in secrecy. In Caravaggio, he was the cardinal to the Pope, because in Caravaggio's story it's very political. A lot of his paintings were commissioned by the Pope and the powers that be. So I dressed up and I managed to squeeze two pieces out of the same character, because we could only afford that nice red coat for one afternoon. It wasn't a very tasking piece of choreography, and I like to move, so I wanted to do that. But the actual section was for another piece, for Caravaggio, where I play the same character. So I thought it might be interesting to have the same character in two different pieces, and we did that. The program I'll be presenting and the program that the New World School of the Arts will be presenting was originally an idea by Mary Lisa Burns, the Dean of the Dance Department. So it's quite an eclectic program, actually mapping out some of my career. And I decided to do 2 duets and a solo, along with mapping and The Virgin Queen, which are ensemble pieces that are originally choreographed here. And the solo was originally choreographed on the company that I was artistic director of, Phoenix Dance Theatre in England. The duet was something that I had danced when I was 25 with London Contemporary Dance Theatre, and another duet called Stand and Stare was originally a commission by Rambert Dance Company in London. So they'd already had outings on a professional level. The good news is that the mapping piece that we've developed here has been taken on by the company that I used to run in England, and that'll be developed over there. Mapping as a whole in a piece, it has an undercurrent narrative in it. It's a very abstract piece, but for me there's a little secret narrative embedded in it. And it's really quite personal, and it's to do with my father's journey from the East to the West. And I wanted a character, a dancer, who could really be a feeling of my father. And I think Andrea has that softness, fluidity in her body, and it's quite unique. And she's absolutely beautiful doing it. What I'd like the audience to walk away with is, in a narrative piece, quite honestly, I want them to understand. I'm very selfish in that respect. And I think it's coming from a filmic, a cinematic point of view. And with any of my work, if somebody can remember images, not particularly the story, or images that can stick in their heads, I'll be happy.